Well, news coming from the IEC confirming that former President Jacob Zuma has been disqualified as a party candidate just a month before the country goes to the polls on May the 29th. The party named him as their presidential candidate. However, Section 47 of the Constitution stipulates that a candidate cannot be elected to Parliament or Legislature if they have been convicted of a crime and sentenced without an option of a fine. For more on this decision to uphold Zuma's objection, let's now speak to Mosotho Moepya, who is the IEC's chairperson. Chair, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us. Was it a difficult decision at all for the IEC to deal with this particular aspect? Because here we're not just speaking about any individual, it is the former president of the country.
Well, technically it wasn't difficult, but of course we are sensitive. We have to accord respect to the former head of state, and we have to deal with these matters dispassionately. We applied the law. We didn't want to do anything wrong. We didn't want to disrespect him or his party, but we had to carry out the letter and spirit of the law.
Okay. And following that decision, this is the decision communicated to the MK party, because yesterday after the press briefing, immediately after the press briefing, we spoke to the MK party and they said at the time that they had not been informed.
We have informed the parties. I know that the MK party was informed, indeed.
Okay. Then the decision by Justice Pillay to recuse herself from that particular aspect of dealing with the candidature of former President Jacob Zuma, how did the Commission handle that?
It was an amicable decision. You know, this kind of work we do requires that nothing taints the process. You will recall that when the sentencing or the order of the Constitutional Court was made in 2021, I think that was, Judge Pillay was sitting as a judge in that court at that time. And when we said and we received these objections that concern former President Zuma, she immediately said that, indicated to us that she was in that court. She would like to recuse, at which point we all agreed. It was the right thing to do. She then recused in relation to President Zuma.
Yeah. Because President Zuma is a supporter of the MK party, also a person who's part of the people that actually formed the MK party, and the MK party is contesting these elections. Judge Pillay remains a member of the commission. Does this mean that if there are any complaints against the MK party that she'll be recusing herself?
It does not necessarily mean that. The MK party and the president are not necessarily one and the same entity. When we deal with a party, we deal with the party as a whole. In this case, we were dealing with the president in his personal capacity.
Okay. And as it stands currently, you haven't received any intention to appeal from the MK party as yet?
No, we haven't, but they don't have to really favor us with a thing that says, no, we are not happy, we're going to appeal. They will, by law, have an opportunity to file papers with the Electoral Court by the 2nd of April.
Okay. Then there's also leading into the announcement around the candidates. You remember the remarks that were made by the MK party's youth wing acting leader. The MK party says that they have dealt with that matter internally, and also one of its members, Newzroom Afrika, who has also said that if a former President Jacob Zuma is not on the ballot or the MK party is not on the ballot, there will not be any election that takes place. And the Commissioner Love did deal with this aspect yesterday during the press briefing. But I wonder, though, when it comes to the electoral code, does the electoral code only apply to the political party and the political party's members? If the person is not a political party member, what happens in that particular case?
The Electoral Code applies to the political party and its candidates in the election, but it binds that party as well as its supporters to, promote the code and to uphold the code. And so, if anyone, it could be a person, a citizen, says things that violate the code, we can deal with that situation, by law. So there is no one that is excluded from, the consequences of what they do or say in relation to the Electoral Code.
Well, again, the Electoral Code says that parties and candidates must recognize the authority of the Electoral Commission. Former President Jacob Zuma has spoken about the elections being possibly rigged as well. What measures, what steps can the IEC then take against such an individual? He's not a member of the MK party.
Well, let's talk without reference to an individual or a party. What happens really is that when elections are called, the code automatically kicks in. When parties submit candidates, their candidates sign in specific terms a form that says that they would be bound and they will adhere to the code of conduct. That undertaking is a prerequisite for them to stand as a candidate. You can never be a candidate in our country if you have not, committed to that code in writing. It's like signing an agreement. Yeah. And so that's what we will deal with. In relation to the MK party, when we talk to parties like we do with everybody else, we do so between ourselves and them. And we've had discussions. You will recall that the MK party did publish their commitment to the code and the fact that where their members derogate from that code, they will themselves deal with those members. That did not happen in a vacuum. It is because we do have discussions, and we will continue to have them. At the point when we need to act, we will.
Okay. Let's move over now to the Cape Independence Party. They are saying that they want answers around why they were excluded from the provincial ballot. Are you able to explain what happened here?
Yes, we are. When you don't qualify, we don't have to explain anything. We do tell you, you do not qualify, and therefore, if you haven't met the requirements, you simply haven't met the requirements. They know that they have not met the requirements, and that's the position. We don't have to really say, how can we help you meet these requirements? We help parties, but we cannot help them beyond the call of duty that we have in law.
Yeah, and I see News 24 is reporting here that the CIP leader, Jack Miller, saying that the IEC online platform shows that they have accepted our candidates list and our financial deposits, and that we have zero issues of non-compliance and zero issues of disqualification. That how did it happen that they were not included?
Right now where I am, obviously I'm not at the office. I don't have the exact details. I've dealt with a whole lot of issues. But we will not say to you, you're not qualifying if you do. We're very careful, Adrian, when we deal with these things. And that's why I say, these are matters that are constitutional. They require care on our part. We have a duty to ensure that our decisions are sound, and I have no doubt that our decisions are sound. Everyone who does not meet the requirements is naturally not very happy, but it is not for us to then cross the line, and then say, let's make you happy, let's qualify you when you don't qualify. We help when parties need help before the deadline date. Our staff is called upon to help in any way that they can to ensure that parties do meet the requirements of the law. But once that has happened, the strict rule of the law must be observed.
Okay. Moving on to May Day, coming to the 29th of May, election day coming up. Has there been a meeting that has taken place between the IEC as well as the security cluster to look at the possible hotspots?
We do so on an ongoing basis. We work together. Where they identify issues, they speak to us. We also raise issues with them where we identify them. So, a place may be a hotspot today, but not tomorrow. Or it may not be a hotspot today, but maybe tomorrow. So those are the kind of things, that are ongoing, and they are considered on an ongoing basis.
Are you able to speak to any of those hotspots that have been identified so far?
If you do, you simply move the target. So security is something that you really need to manage fairly discreetly. And so I do ask that we don't deal with the specific areas. I leave that to the security forces. If they're able to deal with them, I'm quite happy. But they look after security, as you know, and there would be better place to deal with those issues. We do know whether these matters are brought to our attention or relate to us in specific terms. But I would not be at liberty to say, these are the areas because they deal with them.
Okay. So once the decisions have been taken by the IEC and perhaps maybe even appeals that have gone through the electoral court and certificates are then eventually issued by the IEC for candidates, then I guess will come the printing of the ballot papers. Are you able to indicate to us where the ballot paper will be printed? That information I don't have right here, with me. But as you know, in our country, major printers are in Johannesburg, Durban, and Cape Town. And our ballots will be printed in those cities. Okay, thank you so much for your time. That was the IEC chairperson, Mosotho Moepya, speaking there about some of the objections relating to some candidates contesting the upcoming elections and, of course, other details relating to the upcoming elections.